Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and instantly challenge a myth pretty much every cat owner has believed at some point. You know the one, that cats are these totally stoic, independent, incredibly low-maintenance creatures that basically take care of themselves. Well, the latest research from top veterinary experts is completely turning that idea on its head. Today, we're going to decode the fascinating, complex reality of how cats actually age and how we can genuinely support them better. This stat perfectly highlights the problem we're facing. Dogs go to the vet an average of 2.3 times a year, while cats are trailing way behind at just 1.1 visits. This right here is the feline healthcare gap. Because we assume they don't need care or think they're fine just because they aren't loudly complaining in pain, we're leaving them radically underserved. Cats are absolute masters at hiding their distress, so we have to totally rethink our approach.
To help close that gap, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by redefining feline life stages, then look at kittens as the foundation. After that, we'll talk about preventing problems in young adults, vigilant care for mature and senior cats, and finally, feline-friendly vet visits.
All right, let's hit Section 1, redefining feline life stages.
So experts have actually completely simplified how we track feline aging, making it way easier to manage their health. A cat's life is now broken down into 4 distinct age-related stages, plus an end-of-life stage. We used to use 6 stages, but this simplified 5-stage grouping, kitten from 0 to 1, young adult from 1 to 6, mature adult from 7 to 10, and senior for cats over 10, lines up so much better with how we actually notice them maturing. It makes it incredibly easy for your vet to tailor their care. A 1-year-old cat obviously has completely different needs than a 12-year-old, and this framework makes sure absolutely no stage falls through the cracks.
Moving on to Section 2, kittens, building the foundation. When you're stepping into that critical first year, it is all about catching any congenital issues early and building deep, lasting behavioral resilience. There's a super sensitive period for kittens between 2 and 9 weeks old, and what happens here literally shapes the rest of their lives. Guidelines actually recommend 30 to 60 minutes of really pleasant daily interaction with people. You want to gradually and always positively get them used to new noises, other animals, and especially their pet carrier. Listen, gentle, positive interactions right now will save you from a lifetime of having a highly stressed, fearful cat every time you need to go to the vet.
You can even actively prep them for future medical care with a bit of clever training. Almost every cat is going to need oral medication at some point, and it can be a total nightmare if they aren't used to it. Try this. Start by offering a super tasty bit of soft food. Then, hide a hard piece of kibble inside it to mimic the texture of a pill. Finally, practice letting them lick wet food right off the end of a pet pillar device. You're building this great positive association so that when the day comes for actual medicine, it's a breeze instead of a full-on wrestling match. And to fuel all of this crazy brain development and physical growth, kittens need an absolutely massive amount of energy. A 10-week-old kitten requires roughly 200 kilocalories per kilogram of body weight every single day. I mean, they are essentially tiny, furry little engines just burning through fuel.
Which brings us to Section 3, young adults, preventing problems.
So as they mature, that metabolic engine we just talked about, it slows down a lot. By 10 months old, their energy requirements plummet from 200 way down to just 80 kilocalories per kilogram per day. That means obesity becomes a huge risk factor during the young adult stage, especially right after they get neutered, which can trigger weight gain. If we just keep feeding them like kittens, we're basically setting them up for chronic health issues like diabetes and joint problems later on.
Now, besides food, behavioral issues really tend to peak during these young adult years. If you're dealing with house soiling, peeing or pooping outside the litter box, the absolute first diagnostic question your vet's going to ask to figure it out is, where exactly is the voiding occurring? Like, is it on a vertical surface, because that points to territorial marking, or is it horizontal? Are there social stressors going on in your home? This issue is actually one of the main reasons cats are surrendered to shelters, so it requires some careful detective work. Definitely not anger.
And this builds perfectly into my next point. We absolutely have to reframe what we label as bad behavior. If your young adult cat is avoiding the litter box, it is almost never just them being disobedient. Very often, it's a desperate cry for help triggered by stress or something super painful like feline idiopathic cystitis, or FIC. This is an inflammatory bladder condition that gets way worse with environmental stress. The main treatment isn't even always medication, it's changing their environment. Simply providing enough litter boxes, creating safe hiding spaces, and minimizing conflict with other pets can literally cure their medical symptoms.
Next up, Section 4, mature and senior cats, vigilant care.
Once your cat hits age 7 and enters those mature and senior years, your game plan has to shift to hypervigilance. The diagnostic focus completely evolves as they age. With kittens, we're looking for genetic or infectious stuff. Young adults, it's mostly asthma and obesity. But as they get older, you're tracking directly with chronic conditions like chronic kidney disease, hyperthyroidism, diabetes, and osteoarthritis. Regular vet visits become absolutely critical here, so you can catch these diseases before they turn into full-blown emergencies.
Speaking of hidden diseases, we have to talk about degenerative joint disease, or DJD. Remember that myth of the stoic cat? Well, research shows that a staggering 40 to 92% of all older cats might actually have clinical signs of DJD. So if your senior cat just suddenly stops jumping up on the kitchen counter or kind of hesitates before taking the stairs, they aren't just slowing down because of old age. They are very likely hiding the chronic, aching pain of arthritis in their shoulders, hips, elbows, or knees.
To support them through these golden years, their diet needs yet another big shift. Surprisingly, a lot of senior cats actually experience reduced digestive capabilities. Because they aren't absorbing nutrients as well, they might actually need a 10 to 25% increase in calories, just to prevent dangerous muscle loss and keep them from becoming underweight. On top of that, healthy senior cats should not have their protein restricted unless they're dealing with a very specific issue, like late-stage kidney disease. And since their mobility is limited by that joint pain we just talked about, having easily accessible water and food bowls, ones that don't force them to climb up and down stairs, is absolutely crucial.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, feline-friendly vet visits.
So how do we actually pull off all this lifelong care, from a tiny kitten to a senior cat, without totally stressing them out? The veterinary guidelines are crystal clear on this point. Cats should not be punished. Punishment impairs the human-animal bond. The science absolutely proves that physical punishment, shock collars, yelling, or even spraying them with a water bottle does absolutely zero to correct behavior. Literally all it does is crank up your cat's fear, make them act out aggressively just to defend themselves, and totally destroy their trust in you.
Instead of punishing them for reacting badly to a vet visit or a nail trim, we really need to get good at reading their subtle body language and respecting their boundaries. Look out for signs of distress, like a cowering or flattened posture where their head is down low. Pay attention if their ears are rotated sideways or pinned totally flat. Watch for dilated pupils or a tail that's flicking fast, tucked tightly under their body, or swishing back and forth. When you see these signs, your cat is basically screaming, "I am terrified, please give me a break." Ignoring those signals just makes their fear worse. Simply using feline-friendly handling, like wrapping them up nice and comfortably in a towel, and heavily using positive reinforcement can completely transform the medical experience for everyone.
Which leads us to a final thought for this explainer. The next time your cat changes a subtle habit, maybe they stop using their scratching post, or they stop jumping on the bed, or they suddenly have an accident outside the box, are you going to write it off as them just being self-sufficient and stubborn, or will you recognize that they are actually asking you for help? It is definitely time to let go of the stoic feline myth. When we understand their unique life stages and embrace a true lifelong healthcare strategy, we can finally give our cats the incredible supportive care they actually deserve. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you build an even stronger bond with your cat.